Patek Watch sells for $6.5 million. HODINKEE review the new Matrix watch. A frog professor reviews the new G-Shock Frogman. And we have an official Casual Watch Talk meetup that neither Kris or I attend. Welcome back to Casual Watch Talk. You're joined by Sam and Kris. Kris, how have you been?
Excellent. Rolling through the holidays here.
We did a holiday special last week, which thanks for all the nice comments. It was gift ideas. Might be a bit late to get those gifts now, but maybe check them out for next year. And that's why I'm in my ugly sweater. I'm trying to get use out of it.
as much as possible.
Cool. Well, should we kick this off with a wristwatch check?
Sure. Why don't you go first?
Well, I am wearing my Seiko speed timer that I reviewed on the channel. I'm getting used to the size. What was a great pickup, and I wasn't expecting it to be, I bought a cheap Jubilee bracelet off Amazon. I'll leave an affiliate link in the description down below. And I wasn't expecting much of it, but it came. It's got screw-in end links.
Oh.
It's properly articulated know, right? Jubilee. I've added this... the clasp is aftermarket. It was off a Watch Gecko strap because the clasp was decent, but I just prefer this one.
Nice.
It had this weird shine. I didn't realize this. I thought I was going to have to buy a Dremel tool with a brushing element on it.
Oh, okay.
But I watched this video where somebody just took a nail file. Fine nail file. Yeah. And I just did that the weekend, and it looks awesome. And
so you took all the polish away, and now it's just brushed links.
It worked phenomenally well. I don't know if I'll do a how-to video on it, but it worked really well. And then I ran it over the buckle as well. And it was only one of those nail files that has the 4 different sides on it with the different grits.
You went with the fine grit.
The medium one.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing as well with this bracelet, I'm gushing over this $25 bracelet here, is
right.
Because
that you also spent like several hours on, right? Of your time, of your labor. Yes, go ahead.
It's got this extended lug piece here, which looks weird, but the good thing with this is it visually extends the watch slightly on your wrist. So it actually makes me think it's bigger when it's on the wrist because it has that extra bit of metal.
That kind of a play on the lug to lug width. You know, if that's longer, you know, you have a watch that'll be hard to wear if you have a small wrist. If it's a big number.
Yeah, exactly. And I got the idea for this for having a strap that extends the lug slightly to make a watch look bigger, because I was watching, really weird, the original Shaft film. Do you remember the original Shaft film?
Shaft!
Exactly. And in it, he's got a watch with one of those... Have you ever seen those really weird vintage rally straps where they're actually just a piece of metal that they punched holes in, and then it's almost like a bracelet?
Oh, yeah. Okay, right. Yep.
So he had like a small watch with that on, and obviously it made it look a lot bigger, and that's where I got the idea. It was weird where we get inspiration from, but there's my
wristwatch check into
So well, I'll hand it over to you then. What are you wearing?
I have got my Bell & Ross Zin 103 on tonight. This is ready for sort of holiday mode. I am about to put it back on. I haven't had this out, and it's winter, and so it's bracelet time. And I am about to put it back on the fine link. And this is the opposite of brush. This is all shiny. All shiny all the time. The Zin fine link bracelet that I have. That's the next little project. I've got a couple other watch projects. I was able to pick up. I don't think I mentioned this maybe on the episode before our Christmas episode, but I was able to pick up a movement for that Hamilton Khaki King that I'm going to repair or replace. I'm going to replace the. I finally. Spoke to the owner, and they were like, they kind of were like, all right, how bad is it? And then I showed them a picture, which Sam, I'll send you, and you can pop up on the screen, of the crown, the rusty crown, and it's as bad as you think it is. The crown basically rusted away, and there's a bunch of damage and stuff in there floating around. So I think over winter break here, I'm going to do a complete replacement, and so get the Hamilton back in. I was even thinking of streaming it to Discord, just basically starting the camera and going online and see if anybody's there. So I don't know. Look out for that. Maybe just randomly maybe the day after Christmas or something, I'll just randomly replace a movement. It'll be my first real take with a Swiss ETA, which I was able to pick up a replacement for pretty cheap. So
I'd be interested to see that, and especially if you get the decorated rotor, because that Hamilton's got a decorated rotor, hasn't it?
Yeah. Swap the rotor over, and I need to swap the calendar works over too. So that will be yeah. I'll take if anything else, I'll take some video and pictures, and we'll highlight it on the show here. Oh, and I had one more thing. I was thinking about this. Speaking of the Christmas episode, you had asked me what watch that I was maybe interested in the new year, and I spaced this, and I said maybe the new Zin 105, but one of the ones that caught my attention that I definitely want to check out is some of the new Grand Seiko GMTs.
Yes, the quartz and the spring drives.
The spring drive, yeah. So spring drive Grand Seiko, that's a top tier list for me. And I definitely wanted to mention it because we were thinking about Christmas ideas and wish lists and things, and stuff was flying around, and I was like, why didn't I talk about the Grand Seiko? I love Grand Seiko. So
yeah, and I've got exactly the same. We'll be last week I released a Seiko video, which we'll be talking about later. Stirred up a little bit of a controversy, but also a lot of really good discussion in the comments. I've also been thinking about getting a Grand Seiko next year, and I might put myself on a very strict no watch buying, and I'll just save up for one really good watch next year. I don't know how I'm going to do it because I'm obsessing about watches all the time, but I think it would be a good challenge, certainly something interesting to document on the channel anyway.
Yeah, we joke about Grail. We say, I always find that kind of funny, the Grail watch as a concept, which is fine, but a watch that we're lusting after, or a watch that we're saving for. Interesting that would be twice whatever budget I had for watches in a year for sure, or something like that. So I would be saving up for a long time for that. So something to maybe try.
Well, something interesting happened at the weekend, and I joked about it in the intro, but Kris and we've got a Facebook group for the channel. Thank you to all of the new members that have recently joined. It's going well. But Kris, we also you spun up, I'm taking credit for you here, the Discord group.
Yeah.
It was just an experiment, wasn't it, to start with, but now it's started to grow.
So the idea, instead of just, being in the walled garden of Facebook, let's go out and, it felt like chat was a little more conducive. Because it's, picture sharing, and it's like what's on your wrist, and, we get some general discussion. So really cool. We are now going to open that up to everyone. So we'll have the link for you listeners and viewers to join our Discord group and get involved in the conversation. But we had a topic that basically started, we had a bunch of Midwest guys that figured out that they were all close to each other in real life. And so they organized a meetup, which is really cool.
Yeah, and they sent some great photos over. So it was, I was joking at the start, this was the first official casual watch talk meetup where Kris and I were in attendance. But one of our moderators on the Facebook group, Lee, was one of the main organizers there. So I hope you all had a good time. If we do, we'll have to start doing these again once the world gets back to normal. Maybe we'll have to do some casual watch talk swag or something along those lines for everyone. So the people that were in attendance, I'll just give a quick shout. This is their Instagram handles if you want to see more. We've got @Lee Perry, who's the moderator over on our Facebook group. We've got @Midwestern_watch_dude. And then we've got @Pocket Party EDC. Those were the three members. So thank you for meeting.
Yeah, and they went to, where was the place they went to?
They went to Berdine's watch store and saw all sorts of watches. Lee even commented that he fell in love with an AP.
Yeah, they got to see some great stuff and just a wide variety. So that was looks like it was a lot of fun, and both of us are definitely jealous.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully the start of many to come casual watch talk meetups.
Yeah.
And we'll leave the link to the Discord down below and you can chat with us directly. Well, why don't we dive into some of the news stories for this week? And the first one I wanted to talk about was an article on HODINKEE. And what's interesting about this, again, another watch that is well out of our price range here, but Gérald Genta, his personal Royal Oak is set to sell at Sotheby's in May 2022. Gérald Genta was the designer of the original Royal Oak, as well as a host of other extremely iconic watches, including also the Nautilus, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be talking about another story in a minute about a Nautilus. HODINKEE are estimating here when this goes to auction that the estimate is going to be between 300 and 500,000, which is an incredible amount of money. But Kris, I can't help but think that is a lot lower than what it really will go for. I mean, auctions have been insane at the moment.
To speculate on this one, I mean, this is a, the designer's personal watch that was given to him. So, I mean, this is, that territory that it's automatically into. I would not be shocked if it goes well past that.
Such an iconic piece of horology history, Gérald Genta, and that design. I would be amazed if it didn't go for well north of $1 million, maybe 2 or 3 million, perhaps.
Piece of history for sure at this point. Piece of art, piece of history. Not really a watch anymore per se.
And this rolls really nicely into our next story. This is another auction, and again, just wild what this sold for. And this is the Tiffany Nautilus. Now, this isn't a vintage watch. This is a new, or the last of the steel Nautiluses, they say, but this is a collaboration with Tiffany. Tiffany's had a long collaboration with Patek, also very famously Rolex, and they also have their own brand as well now. But this brand new watch, the first edition, it's going to be a limited edition and limited release. So there's going to be 170 of these, but this is number one. This sold for an incredible 6.5 million, which here on CNBC, 120 times its retail price.
Wow. That is, I'm stunned. Like that number, 6.5 million to have the first of the limited edition. I saw pictures of this. I just knew that it was going to go, crazy money. We're talking crazy amounts of money. But in order to have the first one, is someone about to lose some money there? I don't know.
Well, what is so weird about this, and this will lead on to when I talk about Seiko in a minute, or Seiko later on in the show, the Seiko video that I released as well, which hopefully some of the new subscribers who watched that video are joining us here today. So thanks everyone who watched that. It's weird to me because this isn't a watch that Paul Newman wore.
Right.
This isn't a Speedmaster that went to the moon. This isn't Gérald Genta's first watch.
Right.
This is a watch that Patek made a few months ago,
right.
or maybe a year or so ago. They've created this scarcity themselves. They could easily, and they wouldn't do, but they could make 100,000 of these Tiffany dials. Yeah, this is the first one, but it's weird that they've created this scarcity themselves. It has no historical significance other than the fact that it made history itself.
Yeah.
Creating something, forcing it to be scarce,
right,
and then being able to sell the first one for. There's no historical importance.
Right.
By a famous person.
Like just pure, like the pure hype machine. Like where it's just the machine is hype and you take the input and you just plug it into the output and it's a feedback loop of the hype machine. And then next thing you know, it's like Tiffany Blue dial. This is going to be amazing. Unbelievable. And we just talked about, Gérald Genta. I mean, like, why wouldn't you want his personal watch should be worth millions of dollars, should be worth this.
And the thing with the Patek as well, those incredible pocket watches they make. I mean, I think they make a watch that retails for over $1 million that's double-sided, very intricate engraving. And they spend years creating those one-off horological examples, and then they knocked out the steel Nautilus.
I know, where you've got a movement where it's sat on a Rose engine being turned for I don't know a year, and they're like, oh, so this is our Tiffany Blue sports watch. And so we'll just zip this one out. I mean, not to totally lambast the fact that there is obviously some art and some design that has gone into this, but 6.5 million.
Yeah, if you're those artisans that engraved the case of that watch that sells for 1.2 million, this is your entire life is spent engraving the watch, and then your friend down the aisle's like, I just knocked out this steel case, bit of polish on the side, and then it's sold for 6.5 million.
Right. It's that, like, if you went to like a handmade craft store, where you're like, oh, we're making these like bags that are like beaded, and there's people that spend 7 hours like making intricate leather work, stuff like that, and it's like, and then at the door there's like a canvas bag going for it's the one going for $20, and you're like, well, what about all the work I put into this?
It's no longer a watch, is it? It's become a store. It's been a commodity of store of value.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a financial transaction that it's like, well, I wanted to diversify my portfolio and I have $25 million, so I'll just buy this one watch. And it's into this like where the rich can just keep their millions of dollars in these physical objects. It's very, very strange.
That was our view on the Patek, on the Tiffany Nautilus. I think it's a great looking watch. I would love to own one, but even at its supposed retail price. But it's just so funny they've created this scarcity. Well, G-Shock have actually created a watch of something that was at one time even more scarce than the Tiffany Nautilus, would you believe it? HODINKEE did a fantastic article on it, and this is the Borneo Rainbow Toad. Now, have you ever heard of this toad, Kris?
I have not.
Well, that's because for a long time it was deemed to be extinct.
Oh, okay.
But then somebody from the Institute of Biodiversity called Neil Das, it's a university in Malaysia. He's a herpetology. He's in the field of herpetology. I don't know if I've never heard it said out loud, so hopefully that I've pronounced it right. He actually rediscovered this Borneo rainbow toad, which was believed to have been extinct a long time ago. G-Shock did a really cool thing and created a limited edition watch based on this Borneo rainbow toad. And then, so that's cool.
Yeah, right.
And then what was even cooler is HODINKEE contacted this guy and got him to review the G-Shock, which he did. So
that's great.
I highly encourage you to watch it. It's just a great feel-good story for the holidays. So you could see him there. He says that actually they said to him, well, what watches do you wear? And this is a little plug for the Swiss Army watches, because apparently the Swiss Army watches, when they tick, it's very quiet. And he needs quiet because apparently, Kris, when you're recording the mating song of toads, it's at a very low level. So even the ticking of a watch can actually interfere with the recording.
I see. Like one does. Okay. Oh, practical. That's interesting. Certainly can't have a Swatch or a Timex, especially his watch.
Or a mechanical watch. You don't want to accidentally have your mechanical watch at the same tone as Toad's mating call.
I think they did a great job with the colors. It's one of those. It's definitely a wild assortment of colors, and if you saw the frog picture next to the watch, you're like, oh, okay, I totally get it. But on its own, there's it's a funky color G-Shock. It's fun.
Such a great feel-good story for the holidays, and good on G-Shock. I think they should give him one for free. One of these rainbow toad.
Oh yeah, I would hope he would. Oh, he just did the review. I would hope he get to.
Yeah, he just did the review. There is they haven't given him one as far as I'm aware. Next story on the list, and I can't wait for this movie to come out. It comes out in a couple of days. In fact, It comes out tomorrow. They're also releasing it on HBO Max, which is how I'll watch it because I'm not quite ready to go back to the cinema yet.
Mm-hmm.
They released this a couple of weeks ago, so we have known about this watch, but HODINKEE have just done a review of it, and it's the new Hamilton Matrix watch. So it's the LCD watch that they released, the PSR, and it's got the Matrix style colors. So for our audio listeners, it's the LCD watch that Hamilton have, except it's got a black DLC coating, and instead of the red numbers that appear on it, it has green, obviously to tie in with the Matrix, and then it has some graphics on the back as well, similar to that sort of falling code that they see in the Matrix. But HODINKEE tried it on, and of course they're a reseller of Hamilton, so they loved it, as you'd expect. And but what do you think of it, Chris, more importantly?
I think it looks the business. I'm excited. I think this is cool. This is very cool, and I'm excited for the movie as well. We have plans to go to the cinema. Hopefully, maybe do a Christmas Day thing and sneak out. And I think it's cool. I would hope the way they did the numbers. I kind of think they could leave it on all the time. Normally this is one of the ones where you press it and it shows the red numbers. But even that, it's super cool looking. And I think it once again, Hamilton sort of gets that on-screen design theme that they're so good at doing.
A couple of interesting things from the article, and again, all of these are linked in the description down below. They said that the green is actually easier to see than the red that they reviewed. So they actually liked the green. And if you're not a huge fan of this watch, which, to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of it, I wouldn't wear it. It's just not... I mean, it was cooler that it was in James Bond. And as far as I can tell, somebody please correct me if you know this is what I'm saying is false, but I can't tell from the article. I don't even think they wear it in the film. But the new Morpheus, if you're not feeling this watch, the new Morpheus is actually going to be wearing a Hamilton in the film. One of your favorites, Chris, the Panda.
Oh, yes. Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so if you really like the film, you wanted to get a watch from the film, you wanted to get the Hamilton, then the Intramatic Auto Chrono is such a good, going to be worn.
Yeah, and such a good value pickup. That's it's really good. It's really good. I've seen it, had it in person, handled it, almost bought the blue dial with white in subdials, was super close. Really, that's neat.
There's a famous analogy, isn't there, for news reporters that don't become the story. But in this particular case, I think I'm going to become the story. I released an upload. It was an impromptu, off-the-cuff little rant, and I think I'll do more of them because a lot of people really enjoyed it. And it was about Seiko's new release. So here's my upload that I did. And it's over 5,000 views in a week. So these controversial subjects, I titled it, Have Seiko Crossed a Line? And what I was talking about was this new 1968 limited edition. And the reason that we're talking about it again on here is I just wanted to... There was an overwhelming amount of commenters who totally agreed that with me that this This is a step too far in terms of pricing. 4,600 people are estimating to 5,000, but it's got a movement in it, the 8L35, which apparently people who commented that own it say it's great, but they give such ridiculous tolerance on it, like plus 15 to minus 10 seconds. How can you be proud of releasing a movement that's going to rival the Swiss? And by just listing those statistics, it shows that Seiko have done, it appears as if they've done zero regulation.
Right.
Both you and I love Seiko. I mean, I'm wearing a Seiko now. You've got Seikos in your collection. If you watch the collection reviews that we did, I've got 2 Seikos in my collection, and my collection is about 10 watches now. So that's like a high percentage of Seiko.
Right.
But there is a lot of people online that are Seiko apologists. And they're saying, they've got this idea of, well, I think it's great. I mean, a lot of people were talking about, well, it's got this new ever bright steel that's corrosion resistant. Well, all stainless steel is corrosion resistant. They make a watch with that movement in it that you can still buy today, half the price of this one that's the same style. Yes, the dial's going to be good. You don't even get a bracelet with it. And they've made it limited edition for no reason at all. I mean, I made this argument in the video that it's one of them's a Save the Ocean version. So why make a charity version limited edition? Why not just make more of them to make more money for the charity? But there's a lot of people that I think, we're fans of Seiko, but we can constructively think about Seiko as a company.
It's a complex group. It's a gray area. So, I mean, there are folks in that camp that they can defend, but they're not necessarily ever going to buy that watch. I mean, I could see a bunch of folks that are, happy to have a bunch of, 007s or whatever in their collection, and that's the watch for them, and they love Seiko and what they have been doing. And this concept that I hear a lot, which is like, well, good for them for charging, for making money. There's this very like weird, sort of like ultra capitalist sort of attack that it's like, well, if a company makes something for $100 and then sells it for $200, that's good. If a company makes the same thing for $100 and sells it for $2,000, that's even better. They're doing amazing. And you're like, well, yeah, I guess so. But intrinsically and actually, is that thing worth the money? And then you get into a bunch of folks that, there's again these different pockets of people that are like, well, maybe might value different levels of timekeeping, things like that. But it starts to feel like it's the marketing and the fact that they've been moving up market that is feeding back into the culture that everybody, we want to love the brand and we want to support them, but at the same time, like it's hard. It's hard to support them right now with this.
Exactly. In this particular watch, this is the new 1968 version for our audio listeners. It's basically a Marine Master, is what it looks like. Very similar. It's got a unique dial, and you can still buy a Marine Master for around $2,500 with the exact same movement in there. And this is definitely them testing the waters. This is what can we possibly, and it's not just them that are doing this. This is other brands, especially with the pandemic that's happened. Other brands that Kris and I also love. They've definitely been testing the waters with this one. And if you are inclined to defend Seiko for this, then all they will do is just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And then the Seikos that you love, the brand, will become so unaffordable. And you're right, Kris. Every person who said to me in the comments, and this is an open invite to anyone who listens to this as well, who said, I'm all over this watch. I think it's a great price. I posted the email, the casual watch review at gmail.com, and said, if you buy this watch, you are invited on the channel to convince Kris and I that. Right. And you don't even have to convince us. Yeah, just come on and just say, hey, this is why I bought it, and I think it was a great deal. Because I'm willing to be, I'm willing to look at this from a different perspective if it actually turns out that this watch is incredible, even though it doesn't come on a bracelet. And
when I saw it, I enjoyed that you offered, different alternatives and like COSC certified. So like plus minus 4 seconds a day, I think 2, or it's down below that, right? Like that level of timekeeping and that level of, what you're getting for your money kind of thing to offer that as well was a good, it's good to do, and also kind of puts us back into the like, so why is it this price? They keep this upward trend, and it just, again, it feels like a marketing exercise. I was having a discussion with my wife. We were talking about brands. Do you know that the Banana Republic and the Gap and Old Navy, those are the same company, right?
They're all the same, yeah.
So one of the things that they do is they take their luxury brand and maybe this would just make it easier to swallow, right? So like, here you go, Seiko. Here's how to do this and make us all happy. Take your luxury brand and then make like a version that's, maybe a little smaller, a little different, that only has like one dial version, this sort of thing. That's the same style as the fancy luxury, but is a little bit less, and go down. You can then build on your luxury brand, because we love Grand Seiko. And so we would like to see some of that stuff come down to us. If you started putting movements and things and watches that were similar, or like entry level Grand Seiko, amazing. And again, for the price that this is, we're talking about entry level Grand Seiko price.
Exactly, and you're totally right. I mean, this watch is 4,600 euros. So I estimated it was 5,000. It's going to be about 5,000 for an extra $500 or $700. There's a Prospex LX that has the spring drive movement in it, possibly the biggest leap forward in movement technology. It's a plus or minus 1 second a day, because it's regulated by those quartz components. I mean, I don't get where Seiko are going with this. This watch doesn't need to exist. You've got the Prospex LX series with the spring drives. You've got divers on the Grand Seiko that are in that 5,000 article. And then you've got the Marine Master, which is one of the top end ones that's in that $2,000 to $3,000. There isn't a gap there in the market for a watch that's in the same as your 2,000. It was such we're dipping our toes in the water. That it was so blatant what they were doing, especially making one of them the charity version as well. Why I don't understand why you would. And there's like 1,300 of one and 600 of the other. There's 2 different versions of it. So anyway, it was interesting to see some of the comments. Obviously, a lot of people who love Seiko as well kind of agreed with us that it was definitely test and waters. But there was certainly some people who felt that this was a bargain, and you're welcome on the channel. I'm usually on board with a lot of stuff that they do, but this is just a particular. It just really rubbed me up the wrong way. And if you enjoy these rants, guys, we'll definitely, we'll do more, not just Seiko ones, of course. But well, we hope you all have a lovely holiday season. We'll be back in the new year. As always, we really appreciate you watching and listening, and we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Talk. Thanks, guys. Bye.